Hey everybody, KoBaC here with another Halo action figure review. Today we're going to be reviewing the Elite Warlord from the World of Halo Series 2 released by Jazwares. Now this particular figure, you can get him in 3 different ways as of the recording of this video. You can get him as an individual figure, you can get him with the Banished Ghost, and you can also get him in the 3-pack that comes with 2 Grunt Conscripts, which are just the orange grunts. And then also, obviously, he's included in that. All of them come with the energy sword. All of them, to my knowledge, come with the brown base plate. And yeah, they're going to be pretty much the exact same figure. Paint jobs might be a little bit different, but overall, we're going to get the same thing. So, just to specify, this is the one that did come with my Banished Ghost. I wanted to review this one because it's the one that I have had the longest. And it just, there's no sense in doing 3 different reviews. I'm not even going to buy the single Elite Warlord because I already have 2. I bought the 3-pack and I bought the Banished Ghost. So, in my opinion, it's better to get them with the box sets because if I want the Ghost, well, the only way to get the Ghost right now is with the Elite Warlord. If I really would like more grunts, so I'm probably going to try to buy the 3-pack if I could find it, right? That kind of thing. I'm probably not going to go out of my way to buy the Elite Warlord as a single because he's included in these other box sets. That's just me. If this was a generic Elite, I'd feel totally different if it was like an Elite Minor, which we're going to get in Series 3, or an Elite Major, which hasn't been released yet. That would be different because they'd be generic. But when it's going to come to one that's basically like an officer, how many of these do I want in my collection? I mean, do I really need more than 2 kind of thing? This rank, the Elite Warlord, I believe is brand new for Halo Infinite. We don't have that yet. At least that's not from anything I could remember. And when I try to do a Google search to try to find some other information, it seems that the Elite Warlord just isn't really around much. So it could be a new rank for Banished, or maybe the Elites are going to be part of the campaign as their own faction. We'll kind of wait and see when Halo Infinite drops. And as far as the figure itself, we'll get into the paint job. We've kind of got more of like a honey mustard kind of shading for the bulk of his armor. I don't dislike it. I think it works really well. I like the style of his armor. I feel it fits to the Elites' visuals. I like the way that Halo Infinite so far is moving forward with the Elites. They're a little bit thinned down from kind of like the Halo Reach or the Halo Wars style, but they still feel like the Elites. They don't feel too skinny, but they don't feel too bulky either. Because like the Halo Wars, they have these really huge torsos, but then this itty bitty waist. And then Halo Reach just kind of really changed the way that they looked, and they gave them a lot more rounded feet and other things that, yeah, whatever. But I like the way that we're going so far with this sort of style. And the downside that I find with my Elite Warlord, at least with this one, is that he has got some super heavy dry brushing. Like the guy who did this just went to town with the silver. Is that super bad? No, most people may not even notice, or most people might not even gripe about it. For me, it's really heavy-handed, and I don't mind weathering. I just don't like it when it's over the whole figure, and it's like just over him. It's all over the helmet, all over the back, all over the gauntlets and the thigh armor. It's all over the place. It's a little heavy, a little bit, but okay. So the grays on him though, I feel like all of that is fine as he spins around here. The only thing that's really different than the McFarlane line, for those who used to collect way back in the day, is that his teeth are painted, but I believe, yeah, inside of his mouth, if you can sort of see in there, it's just dark. It's just the gray. They did paint the teeth, they did paint the eyes, but then the inside of the mouth is just gray. And I believe McFarlane would paint inside there. Not a super, super big deal. It's not a deal breaker. We already kind of know with Jazwares we have to be willing, because we're getting a cheaper price point, that we have to be willing to make a little bit of compromise when it comes to some of those little tiny details. And if you're super picky about it, get some miniature paint or some craft paint or some modeling paint and paint it yourself. You know, it's not that big of a deal to do a quick little bit of red or maroon kind of in there to color inside of his mouth. I would rather the cheaper figure and they miss like that little tiny detail than it would be for me to be like, oh, look at all these other things. Just me. Anyway, let's continue. Now, you'll notice that I have my figure on his base plate. And you know how picky I've been about these base plates. They're nice to have. I'd rather have them, especially for younger collectors or other collectors that want to maybe connect them all together, because if you have multiples, they have these sections here, segments to connect them, and you can build like this bigger diorama with them. That's great. Personally, my style of posing and my style of display doesn't favor those, but I love that those are included because it's just nice to have extra accessories for those, especially those who will want them. With the Elite, though, I kind of needed it because there's a difference in how, you know, they're designed for the video game and then how they would work in the real world. There are some limited points here of articulation that we're going to get into, and I just wanted to kind of, like, he will stand on his own. I've been able to get him to stand plenty of times, like right there, boom, done. But that pose is kind of bleh. So let's show the articulation. We'll kind of go from there. All right, so for the head, his head right at the neck is on a ball joint, so has a decent range of motion, right? Downside, especially compared to the Jackal Sniper, and I'm going to use the Jackal Sniper a lot because they have a similar sort of body shape. There is no articulation here at the neck, but the Jackal Sniper can like change its neck in all sorts of directions, which the Jackal Sniper so impressed me from Jazwares. So impressed me. And then we get the Elite here, and he's got nothing. I mean, it is nothing right there. And that really limits where he can look because his head only has so much range of motion to the side. So it's like, yeah, that looks kind of cool right there. But man, if I could have him, you know, standing more of a cool pose and then be able to, and his head just popped off. So if I could have his head like this, that would be awesome. But right, like, that's just not really anything. And that's a bummer. The waist articulation is also pretty much not there whatsoever. There's a little bit, as you can see, but it is not a whole heck of a lot. Arms are on, you know, the typical Jazwares hinge joints. Can get his arm up pretty high, can lower it only to about there, so he can't really lower his arm as good as I would have liked. We got another joint here at the elbow, can bend the arm, can just about fully extend it, which is good. Then you got the hand here, which has a very nice range of motion. Rotate 360. All right, now the legs. Legs can kick out really well. Jazwares kicks butt when it comes to legs and like hip joints. They really, really do. Can kick out really far. The legs can literally close together just about on their own without even me holding it. Can kick out that far, can kick back. Does not have the double knee joint like the Spartans do, so it does have a very limited range in the back. It would have been nice to have an extra joint here to be able to get that to really pose better. Not the end of the world, but you know. Then here at the second knee, the lower knee, you can see that there is a hinge joint in there, so we can get a decent range out, but because of the way that the Elite's legs are, it doesn't really make much sense. It basically just acts as like a swivel. Then with the ankle, you can get decent motion, and it is a hinge joint, okay. But you can really only do side to side. There isn't any room because of how the back of the ankle armor is, or shin armor, lower leg armor, it restricts the foot, and then you can't really go forward any because also the way that the armor is. So it's like you have that joint there, but you can't really take advantage of it. Now, upside compared to the Jackal Sniper, you will notice that the feet are flat, which helps so flippin' much so that he can actually stand on his own with almost no effort. The downside becomes when you want to pose him that there's not that much room to work with. In my opinion, this is bad. Now, I hope that when it comes to like the Elite Miners, because those are going to be from Series 3, and then continuing on, Series 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, hopefully that we keep going that far, I hope that this gets addressed and gets adjusted, because I've heard that Jazwares has improved things from Series 1 to Series 2 for like the Spartan collection, for example. So hopefully they're paying attention to some of these reviews and they're looking for ways to improve the figures, because you know these figures are for the community, are for the collectors, the fans. So hopefully they're listening to us for some feedback for ways that they can improve. I don't want to knock what Jazwares has done. I like the World of Halo line. I love the Spartan Collection line. I do think that if you're on the fence and you have the money, you should pick these up. But I do these reviews to kind of give you guys my honest opinion of where I think the figures kind of fall, right? Now, with this energy sword, it was a little tricky getting it into his hands, but I'll show you here on the left hand. The fingers are pretty decently bendy, so you're not totally restricted on getting that weapon into his hands. When, like with the McFarlane line, the fingers were, that you could tell that the fingers for the Elites felt a little brittle. And you had to, like, what I would do is I'd use a blow dryer to, like, warm the hand so that I could bend the plastic because I didn't want to tear it. I don't really feel that that's a danger here, but, and this is not a Jazwares fault. It kind of falls into, like, the review that I did for the Jackal Sniper. When Bungie and now 343 have designed these Covenant characters, they've designed them in such a way that it is not beneficial to figure collectors. It's fantastic for realism maybe and for lore, but it doesn't work so good translating into toys. Is that because the Elites have two thumbs, it really restricts being able to get weapons into their hands, like even like the energy sword. The way that their fingers are so long that they wrap around the weapon, like totally wrap around it, it also makes it difficult to get the weapons in their hands. But I don't doubt that I'd be able to get a Needler or some other weapon that is available right now in the Jazwares scale into the Elite's hands, but that is still a thing that you guys should consider, is whether or not you can get other accessories in his hands. Okay, now for the height comparison portion of this review. I decided this time we're going to show a height comparison to Master Chief from the World of Halo line. I think the Elite fits very, very well next to Chief. The Elites are supposed to be taller. This Elite is not fully extended to its full height because they don't always walk at full height anyway. But I think the scale is really, really spot on. I'm really happy with this. For real. I'm really excited about this. Now, beside him is one of the McFarlane's Arbiters. Now, this is technically the Halo 3 Arbiter, and I custom painted it to be silver because I like the Halo 2 design better. And you can tell there is a big difference in terms of just body anatomy that they've changed and kind of, oh, you've fallen, that they have changed from Halo 2 and Halo 3 days into Halo Infinite. And so normally these figures are way taller. I feel that with the Elites from Halo 3, they made them smaller than they did against the Spartans. They weren't really like the full height that they should have been. This particular Arbiter figure, you know, his neck is really droopy. I don't know if that's just because he's down because he got that rad tattoo in the beginning of Halo 2. But they look very similar in height, but they shouldn't be. This one should be considerably larger, but they feel pretty comparable. His legs, though, are also almost fully extended. They stood a lot more erect, a lot taller and straighter compared to how they do now, where they've got more of the exaggerated second knee and middle leg section. So they're kind of just a different style altogether. But I wanted to show as a height comparison for the figure. So overall here with the Elite Warlord, I like it. I'm very happy to have, well, now 2 of them in my collection. But there are some downsides to this. I think if you bought this for your kid and they wanted to be able to play with the Halo figures, they're not going to super care about some of these picky things that I'm going to mention. If you're someone who's an avid collector and you're like, I gotta get it, you're going to get it anyway, right? So for those of you that kind of fall in between that, like maybe you're a collector that doesn't have a lot of money, or you're kind of just, you know, maybe a little bit pickier with your selections, Overall, I feel that the rating for this would be somewhere between a 3.5 and a 4. I like the figure. I like the armor. The lack of articulation in the neck is definitely a deduction of like an entire star, because I can't really pose him. Like, I can make do with the fact that he's difficult to pose because of his legs by using this base plate here. That's fine. Like, I'll live with that. The arm articulation, I feel, is pretty fair for what we can expect from Jazwares. Not disappointed there. The hips, fantastic. He can kick his leg. He can do all kinds of leg poses and leg, just angles. The lack of the waist articulation isn't really even the end of the world, because sometimes with a lot of the McFarlane figures, I was kind of used to that anyway. Would I like to have that included? Absolutely. Is it the end of the world? Not even close. But when it comes to the base of the neck, not being able to have any range of motion, that kind of sucks. That kind of takes away it really limits what I can do with this figure for posing, because I really want to pose him more of that, you know, badass side pose kind of thing. But it's really difficult to do with the way that he is right now. I would say that he's probably more on the 3.5 side because of that than he is on like the 4. There's a couple of negatives with this figure, but you know, I like the fact that his feet are flat because that helps him to be able to stand way better than the Jackal Sniper can. The energy sword is great to have included, but that overall, that kind of is a bummer that he can't really pose a bit better. So anyway, guys, thank you very much for watching. Please comment below what you guys think, and if you do have one, what you think of the figure. Anyway, guys, thank you again. Talk to you guys in the next video. See ya.